Welcome to the September 9th Coordination Circle for the Lifeboat Academy. And as is our custom, we will start with a land acknowledgement and grounding. Is there anybody who would like to do the land acknowledgement today? Or shall I?
Go ahead.
All righty. So this is my second land acknowledgement of the day, and I'm always curious whether they come out different between the morning and the afternoon. We begin by acknowledging the land because it is a reminder to us that the land was here before we were. The land will continue long after we are gone. And we are only here because the land has called us up. And in this acknowledgement, we lean into indigenous wisdom, which understands the land as more than a territory, more than a line in the map, and actually sees the land as, well, the mother of us all, the interconnected web of being. So that when we talk of the land, we talk of all of our relations, from the little critters that make the soil to the largest whale that swims in the ocean and everything in between. And we remind ourselves that we are part of that tapestry, in part to check the ego at the door and to remind ourselves that we are a part of nature. We are nature. We are not separate from it. And as such, it is in our own best interest if we are in right relations with all of our relations, human and more than human. And in leaning into this wisdom, we also acknowledge the deep debt of gratitude that we have to indigenous cultures who have not only learned to live and build a culture around this understanding, but have defended it at great cost to themselves in the face of imperialism and a culture that wants to think of itself as special. And so when we acknowledge this debt of gratitude, we also acknowledge a responsibility that we need to do whatever we can to be in right relations, and that means healing things that have been harmed. And so we acknowledge the land as also an acknowledgement of our responsibility to be good neighbors, to be good relations, and to take the extra effort to heal things that have been harmed. So with that in mind, I invite us all to actually anchor ourselves here in the land where you find yourself. So get yourself comfortable in the seat where you are. Let your eyes close, let your shoulders relax. Take a deep breath, feeling that cool, energizing air entering your lungs. And on the exhale, feel your body relax into the seat beneath you. Feel the support that comes up through the seat and ultimately through the earth itself, holding you in a gentle hug of gravity, in just the right balance to keep you from floating away into space, but still let you move. And take a few breaths in this way, breathing in fresh energy. And on the exhale, just let any darkness, any tension, any stress, any fatigue, just let it roll off of you, returning to the earth, knowing that the earth will take it and regenerate it and return it to you as fresh new energy. So I invite you to take one more deep breath in, breathing in fresh energy. And as you exhale, bring your attention back to your body in the seat and your seat here in the circle. So let us do a quick check-in. And I'm going to steal one from a meeting I was in earlier, which is, what is your favorite word to say? What is a word that your mouth just likes to make? And the circle as I see it is April, Ronnie, me. So April, over to you. What is a fun word to say, your favorite word to say?
Perspicacious. Over to Ronnie.
This one's funny because it's not I can't pick a favorite. I need more time.
Right.
But this one came up the other day, and it's something that's actually really not good for the planet, but I find it so fun to say, chlorofluorocarbons or CFCs. I just find it very funny and fun to say. So chlorofluorocarbons. Over to you, Ben.
I'm going to go with onomatopoeia, which is almost an onomatopoeia. So, but the my favorite word from somebody else today was poppycock, which is definitely a fun one. All righty, so let's get into it. I will share my screen, and we'll just take a look at what we've got on. There we go. What we got on the agenda here. So, basically, we've got we are on the verge of starting our fall semester. I guess we can actually say our fall semester has started. And so the main focus, I think, of the meeting today is really just checking in on how that's going, all the pieces and parts. And we've got a number of things that have a number of sort of action items that have come up from that. And the other thing that we still have on our agenda is just crossing the last T's and dotting the last I's from our seasonal review. So just a quick check-in on that. And is there anything else that anybody has to add to the agenda? So April, anything to add? Anything on your top of your mind?
No, I assume that we're going to be having guild reports as well. Over to Ronnie.
Nothing to add. Back to you, and also Roland is here.
Yes.
Great.
Welcome, Roland. You made it through the dip. Oh, now I'll say, you made it through the dip. Hooray. So we were just starting by looking at our agenda. And so basically a focus on the fall semester, a check-in on seasonal review and guild reports. And is there anything that you have to add to the agenda? Cool. And just the updated circle then will be April, Ronnie, Roland, and me. And right. And actually, that reminds me, I was thinking of this just as sort of a meeting to check in on the fall semester, but it is, in fact, our coordination circle. And so we can do a couple of the normal things that we need to do as part of our check-in, including revisiting our North Star. I should add, as a sort of forewarned is forearmed, I had limited sleep last night and a very busy day already, and I might be a little fuzzy. So if I stray off of the agenda, we're all circle keepers, and I would invite any assistance at keeping us on track. So let us start with a look at our North Star. And actually, this is kind of an interesting reminder. The last time we did our check-in, it was what would a successful fall semester look like? And I think you can all take a bit of an of a look at that. And I'm going to ask the perennial question, why? So why are we bothering with a fall semester? Why are we bothering to do this work? Why is this worth our time? So over to you, April. Why are we doing this?
The perennial question. We're doing this because it pulls together a whole bunch of things that we've already been working on and kind of focuses around the idea of sharing the learning and then bringing other people into particular topic areas that they will enrich by their contributions, and they may not have had much to do with our systems yet, but this is a jumping off place for that, I believe. Over to Ronnie.
There are people who want to talk about the poly crisis and want to do something about the poly crisis and either don't know where to start and or don't have people around them yet to do that with. So we offer space and support for them to be able to do that. Over to Roland.
It feels like flow. It feels like a logical next step out of other possible next steps. This is as logical as it's a good one, and it feels like a good experiment. Back to you, Ben.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking because I was busy typing and yeah, and also I'm thinking about reciprocity. I want the support that I want to offer. I want more people around me who are rolling up their sleeves and taking this seriously, and more people, and many hands make light work. So I am doing this in a spirit of reciprocity because I want the kind of support that I think we're offering. And we've all had a chance to share one round. So one more round, given what you've heard from other people, what's coming up for you? Back over to you, April.
Again, the reminder of reciprocity and how central that is to this whole thing. It's like the spinal column that holds up the body, I believe, and keeps the circulation going in some odd way. Over to Ronnie.
We are transforming the dominant culture one circle at a time. Over to Roland.
It's an also and inwards and outwards kind of thing. It is, I think, it's relating back to, I think, something that April said in the first round, but it's sort of self-reflection for the organization to reorganize, to use the imaginal cells to form itself in its next iteration. So that requires sort of inward looking and in order to be able to move outwardly. So over to you, Ben.
I like you all. This is I don't think I have anything to add. I feel like this is full and complete and very cool. So we've revisited our North Star, and the next thing is to review our annual and seasonal plan. And so our annual plan, we are still in the process of establishing the legal entity. We are moving closer and closer to that. We hope to complete the purchase of the property as soon as possible, which is in part dependent on the legal entity forming. And as a way then of reaching out, we'll have an interesting update on that in the guild reports. We want to onboard people who've been getting involved, bringing people more firmly into the work that we are doing. And we want to be able to understand and establish the priorities so that we can stay focused on what is necessary. And on the farm system, we are looking at baselines and measures of progress. And we have established the guild system. Actually, I think we can kind of check that one off as done in terms of, I think we really have we've been working really well with the guilds and that as a way of dividing up things. And so that is our annual plan as we created it 9 long months ago. Once around for any comments or observations on the annual plan. April, over to you.
I really like being able to see kind of what the ambitions were and then to think about how we've moved on that. This is where I get the reflection of how we've moved, I think. On to Ronnie.
Ditto. That's basically what I was going to say. Over to roll on.
Thumbs up. Over to you, Ben.
Awesome. So seasonal plan, really we are primarily looking at our semester and how we've laid it out. So again, a reminder of these are what some of the qualities of a successful semester would look like to us: excitement, retention, engagement, more people, more commitment, more distributed leadership, people showing up, things on the ground happening, and we're having more impact, the things happening on the ground, moving from talk to getting shit done, and more of our success indicators being met, and wanting the people who are involved to feel like they have a community around them. And so the plan is generally we have our calendar established. We have some events coming up already. We've got our newsletter that has gone out. The first Medium post has been posted and shared. And I think we have some other things, some other specific items. We've updated the personal development plan template. It's actually, we have a long list and we have a lot of things already checked off. We've got the orientation outlined, and first steps have already been taken to put together a PowerPoint. We've got our sociocracy webinar, first webinar coming up tomorrow. And so we've got a lot of the behind the scenes stuff done. And right now we are only looking at the plan. So I think probably that's enough for a reminder of what our plan looks like and comments on the plan for the season. April, over to you.
I don't think I have any comments. It looks good. On to Ronnie.
Nothing to add. Over to Roman.
Sounds good to me. Over to you, Ben.
All righty. We're clicking it right off the line here. So we can review our calendar next, and I'm going to go to our Miro calendar. You just have to bring it up here. And I like actually, I thought I can go to our website to bring up our calendar because our events page also has it linked in there. But I got to the Miro board sooner, so and I am probably not, can you see the calendar? Okay, I've got to, hang on. There we go. So we are here on the 9th of September. And looking at our calendar, we've got sociocracy. Oh, actually, we have added another sociocracy on the 20th. And that's actually at I think we've got, oh, that's right. Feel like we've got a conflict there, but we've got sociocracy coming up tomorrow and then next Friday. And we've got our orientations planned for Friday and next Monday, a week from now, same time, or actually no, at 2 in the afternoon, Pacific. And we have heart work this week, and we have outreach next week. And next Tuesday will be the first of our Connect the Dots Club. So that is where we are with the calendar. And right, that's how, because we're doing 2 p.m. All right, any questions or comments on the calendar? April?
Yep. Ronnie?
And Roland? All right, cool. So we've done basically now our check-in on sort of the plan, and it's now time for guild reports. And sorry, just looking for the all right, guild reports. First up, heart work and philosophy. Who, April Roland, who wants to give us an update on heart work? Recent activity?
I can just mention a couple of things and then pass on to Roland. We talked a bit about the Connect the Dots Club and who might be facilitating, and also what the format might be for the sessions. And then also did a bit of a seasonal review around lessons learned and challenges and accomplishments. I think that's all I had in my notes. Roland, what else did we work with?
I think that, and I will paraphrase using different words, that it was, since we're about to launch the Connect the Dots Club, and that it is mostly in the hands of the facilitation team at this point, that we did a lot of sort of wrapping up and reflection and preparing for the next season. So that's I think that's pretty complete. You were our note taker, Ben. Is there anything that you wanted to add to that?
You know, I'm blanking right now because I was remembering the lessons learned. One thing I do recall was we were able to do that seasonal review in 20-25 minutes. It was very efficient. And I can't remember the things that we came up with, but it was, oh, actually, one of the things I remember was talking about how Connect the Dots was a really good example of guild work and figuring out where there's that overlap between outreach and heart work, and how to sort of hand off from one guild to the next, so that everyone was getting input. And you know, the feeling was, I think, everything was very graceful. It seemed like a good collaborative experience. So really feeling like the guild system is working, even in that Venn diagram part, where there's the overlap. So yeah, April or Roland, do you have anything to add in terms of lessons learned? I think that cool. And Ronnie, any questions? Cool. And next up is principles and governance. Actually, this is I sent out a document on a kind of rough proposal of how a way of reinvigorating the principles and governance guild, which I am tentatively calling the Curiosity Guild at this point. And it's a realization, recognition that, for me at least, I think the key principle in the around governance is this idea of experimentation, and really encouraging the guilds and also project partners to work in an experimental and collaborative way. And so the general idea is, well, and the other part to it is the Southern Gulf Islands Community Justice Program and the Foodlands Co-op and this new group that's just recently met that is talking about developing a sort of what we've been calling the Social Impact Investors Fund, that they also are talking about reaching out to land-based land trust projects to see what people have been working on, what their challenges are, what support they need. And so the proposal is for the Curiosity Club is to try to knit together these different outreach and research activities, including for ourselves, identifying who are the lifeboats out there that we know about. And the basic questions are, what are you focusing on? What are you trying to accomplish? What do you feel your challenge is right now? What kind of supports are you looking for? And what kinds of supports can you offer? And then the actual guild meeting would be an opportunity for as many people doing this kind of outreach / research to come together, compare notes, and think about, first of all, where can we just make some introductions? Where are we hearing about a need when we know somebody who can offer support in that area? And also identifying where there are gaps, and thinking about what we can do collectively to fill those gaps. And in particular, I am thinking about being able to make a compelling case to people with resources about, how here are people that could do a lot more if they had some support in material ways. And also, in a similar vein, who is doing something, where are the promising approaches? Where are there people who seem like they're having some success, who we might want to get more people to know about what they're doing? So anyhow, that's the proposal which I've sent around. And I guess this would be an appropriate time to get feedback on that. So if we can do a round, questions, concerns, improvements, anything for the good of the cause. So April, over to you. Thoughts on the proposal?
Confession, I haven't read the proposal. So I'm planning to pick up the main points through this discussion. Over to Ronnie.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I have a time and capacity tension this week. But what you've said so far makes a lot of sense, and I've also heard bits and pieces of it in the past. I think this is a really important piece of the puzzle, and also because it's such a big gap. So I'm curious to see what comes of it and who all might get involved. And I think we've had this big question for a while of like how do we get the people with resources in the room? How do we show them the importance of sharing those resources and what's in it for them? And I think this is a different way of asking those questions, coming more from a place of curiosity, and being a bit more scientific and research based also seems useful. Also, sorry if you can hear the cicadas, they suddenly got incredibly loud. Okay, I will pass to Roland.
I forgot to go see in the Lifeboat Academy email, but I actually don't think I've received the proposal email. I meant to ask about that the other day, and I'm actually curious for my two other colleagues. Did you actually see the email, or are you just hearing about it for the first time today? So I was actually wondering if maybe it hadn't actually been sent out. I'm kind of hoping. Yeah, so I haven't seen the proposal because I don't think I received the proposal email. And yeah, so if no one has seen the email, then would it make sense to actually go over it together today to talk about? I feel like I think it's a really exciting direction, rebranding the governance guild, which the word already has this weight, and I personally really like the name of Curiosity Guild because it also is evoking some of the key agreements that we have that make up the Lifeboat Academy as in the title. Yeah, so actually, I would like to ask April, Ronnie, have you seen the email? Did it actually go out?
I don't think I've seen it, and I can't find it in my email stash. So
Mm.
I thought I saw it, and now I can't find it in my email either. But that also just could be because email is a nightmare. So, I'm not sure. Well, do
Okay.
you remember what the subject was, Ben?
No, and I do remember that it's a Google Doc, and the name of the Google Doc is the Curiosity Guild proposal, and it's in the governance folder in the Lifeboat Academy G Drive. And what I'm going to do is I will copy the link and put it in chat.
Thank you.
So that everyone will have a link to it. Apologies for that. I'm not surprised. I've been in that mode of like trying to send out so many emails that I probably have it written and maybe just didn't hit send. Because that happens. So I'm open to the idea of talking about, I would like to talk about it today, but I want to make sure that we kind of keep on track around the fall semester first. So let's try to get through everything and make sure that we've got all of our ducks in a row for
I found it.
Okay.
It's actually it is a mention in the September 9th Coordination Circle email. And there's a link that says, here's a link to my current ideas after a sentence about the Curiosity Guild. So there wasn't specifically an email, but there was a link inside an email about something else leading to it. So I can resend it to you if you'd like, so that it's at the top of your email, or if that makes email even more of a nightmare, I won't.
Well,
But
and
Found
I just put the link in the chat too. So
okay.
all right. Okay, so let's move on to the next guild report, and then we can come back. Excuse me, we can come back to this if we have time. Next up is finance and legal. We have a very interesting update here On the lawyer front, we're waiting for the lawyers to get back to us. We have an email out to them. They said that they were going to review it and review our structure and come back to us. And they haven't, so I need to send them a nudge. So in terms of the actual legal structure, we're waiting on the lawyers. And in the meantime, I had a meeting with Brad Smith of the Resilient Communities Project, and also with I don't even want to call it a group yet. There's sort of a fledgling idea that was initiated from John Cooksey on Salt Spring Island, who is part of the Salt Spring Farmland Trust, which is the trust that holds Burgoyne Valley Farm, community farm. And he was involved in, it sounds like it was a dinner party where they got talking about farmland and affordability and a number of other issues. And they started to hatch this plan of basically forming a fund that would give people with resources an outlet where they could invest in farmland that would be set aside for the use, or farmland that would be, and or other land that could be set aside for community purposes. And an overly short version is they're looking for ways of, they're recognizing that land values are starting to put pressure not only on farmland, but on local businesses on Salt Spring and on housing. And John described it as the everything crisis, where recognizing that, new businesses are struggling to actually, that he has a story about somebody who was going to buy an existing business that was successful, and the people who owned the business just wanted to transition. They, wanted to retire. Somebody had the means and the ability to buy the business. Everything looked good in terms of cash flow, but the rent was so obscene they couldn't make it go with the rent that was being asked. And so that business is probably going to close down now rather than transition to somebody else. And he was pointing out, there's these knock-on effects that are affecting everything: healthcare, community services, people who provide the services, people who would be employed to do it can't afford to live there anymore. And it's not just Salt Spring; it's happening lots of places.
Here, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, and actually, one of your neighbors, you may know her, Cassandra Fletcher, with One Straw Society in Roberts Creek. So she got involved and she kind of pulled together a meeting, and the short form of it was a fantastic get to know you meeting. My sense was we're all talking the same talk, like everyone is aware of the poly crisis and how it's affecting us locally and the interconnection of all of these things. And the fact that our current structures, our legal structures, don't make it easy to figure out how to do something alternative. And so there's a lot of interest. Another person who was there was Denise. I didn't catch her last name, but she's with the Land Trust Alliance of BC. She was saying that there's growing interest. There are 40 land trusts in BC, and only one of them is for farmland. Almost all of them are ecologically sensitive land, and it's kind of the conservation model. So it's land that's just set aside and is not economically productive. And but she said that there have been a lot of people approaching them asking about farmland to be put in trust. So there's a lot of interest out there, and a lot of energy behind it. And when I went over our model and what we were trying to do, they were very, very impressed, to put it mildly. And so the next step there is Cassandra is going to try to put together a larger meeting of a larger group of people who are interested, and to try to bring together people that have different experiences and perspectives on what's been tried and, what are some alternative models. I think we will probably be high on the list of presenters. The other person high on the list is our friend Heather, and the other person that will probably be on the list is Brad Smith. So we are, I think, really well positioned. There's a lot of, and it was really gratifying to have the acknowledgement of, sometimes it can feel like what we're putting together is too complicated. Can't we just do something easy? And in this meeting, it became clear, no, we can't, because all of the easy solutions don't actually work. They don't really get to the root of the problem. And what we're talking about is actually trying to get to the root of the problem, and that was recognized. And so that was really gratifying. Similarly, the update from Brad Smith is that they are getting a lot of interest. And I think realistically, we are a year or so ahead of them in terms of thinking things through. They are now realizing that they need something like kind of an educational type program where people who might be interested in getting involved in the resilient communities can have some sort of grounding and foundational understanding before they can get matched with projects. And likewise, I think the importance of the deep and slow relational work of making sure that there's a fit between projects and the people who want to get involved. And there can be a lot of variety in the projects. They don't need to be the same, but that means matching is trickier. So anyhow, really exciting developments there. A lot of potential for collaboration across, and I think pulling together knowledgeable, interested, invested partners who are doing very similar work, who recognize the complementarity of, what we're doing. So once around for any questions or observations, over to you, April.
No, I would just like to keep updated on developments. Over to Ronnie.
I agree that it's exciting, and the approach feels good to me, feels thoughtful and sort of like holistic and realistic. And I'm remembering kind of when the whole bioregional learning centers thing was coming into our field, that the energy of that to me felt very like, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
Maybe, is there a fit? Are they talking about what we're talking about? And this feels very much like, oh, like we already have these relationships with Heather and Brad, and lots of conversation, lots of mutual understanding of the issues. So it just, yeah, in my body, it feels like a lot more grounded, and like the potential is very potent potential. Yeah, over to Roman.
I just wanted to point out that the connection with the group that is so far not really named is from Roz Kemp here on Pender, who is really an amazing person, and it's I was pointing that out because I want to call attention to the fact that this connection happened because of relationality and reciprocity. So we say that we want it, and so I'm calling it out to point out that it does happen and it is happening. And also that it didn't occur to me before, but Ben, when you were talking about, one of the other presenters is Heather Pritchard, and one of the other presenters is Brad Smith, and I think this is evidence of the switchboard. I think this is evidence of nurturing mutual aid, and I'm curious about how that fits into our conceptualization of the switchboard, and can we claim some part in these connections happening, ergo again calling attention to the switchboard actually working.
Mhm.
So over to you, Ben.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's brings me back to the Curiosity Club, because it's sort of I'm thinking of the Curiosity Club as the latest iteration of the switchboard. It's, you know, how to actually give some structure to that idea.
Mm.
Yeah, and you're right. It is, and thanks for pointing that out, you know, kind of bringing it to our attention. It is, we were included because somebody else was included who thought of us and got us included. So, you know, it is really about that whole switchboard and connections, and yeah, so cool stuff. All right, moving on so we can get through stuff. Next up, farm, food, and housing. Do you want to do this, or should I roll on?
I forgot to take pictures this time. I'd been so good, but we had Yannicka and Amélie, two woofers, again from Germany, who came and stayed with us for a little over a week each. I think Yannicka may be closer to 2 weeks, but I'm not quite
It's
sure.
just a little over
Um,
2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's interesting having people come in that respect, because it sort of shifts and changes the energy.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was good, and I think they had good experiences while they were here. And I'm continuing um, my experiments with winter gardening. And in terms of experiments and such, I wanted to share that whatever depression or whatever that was making the gardening very difficult for me has been replaced by interest and curiosity about this experiment in having a fall and winter garden. And so that feels very good. Um, and I am enjoying it in the moment. So that's my update for the Farm Guild. Ben, is there anything that you would like to add? And to all others, are there any questions or comments?
I don't think I have anything to add. It was, yeah, I think Amelie in particular, I think, was really interested in what we were doing, kind of the deeper aspect of what we were doing. So yeah, it was very gratifying. And the garden is looking so much better now. You know, like it's just that it's such hard going to rehabilitate. You know, it's so slow going, and it can be really frustrating. And now it's actually looking like a garden. So yeah, that's very gratifying. Yeah, questions, any questions, comments? All righty. Next up, outreach.
So, some recent updates. I got the newsletter out with lots of very useful feedback from folks. Thank you for helping me do that. I also set up social media posts for each of our different events, almost all of them, I think, except for maybe a webinar. No, they're all there. Anyway, and I've started posting them and sharing them to stories. And I'm just going to keep on keeping on with that every week. So that is happening. And people have signed up for events. So I just checked our calendar for Sociocracy tomorrow, we have 4 people signed up, which doesn't include anyone in this call, which is awesome. And then we have a couple signed up for orientation on Friday. And then we have a couple signed up for our other sociocracy next week as well. So that is all exciting. And I'm hoping that as I continue to share the posts on social media, that we will get more. So if people feel like they have the time and the capacity, it'd be great if you could share the Facebook posts that I'm putting out that have the graphics and the sign up links. If you're on Instagram and you want to comment on, which I think I'm the only person in this group who has my own Instagram. So I've been starting to comment on our posts being like, yay, I was so excited about this. Just trying to boost us in the algorithm. But yeah, so where things are happening and we're getting signups, which is great. In terms of next steps, Austin came to our last outreach meeting, and he is going to be, he is tasked with looking through our YouTube, all of the recordings of circles and things to look for interesting snippets to share on social media, which we've been talking about doing for a long time. So that will be really awesome. And he's really comfortable, making videos and speaking on camera and talking about stuff. So he's going to be thinking through other forms of content that he might make for us. Ben is thinking through next steps about approaching network partners and the research project, which now seems like it's that is the Curiosity Guild piece. So that's very much in progress. Already said I'm going to continue with newsletters and social media posts. And we still need to do our seasonal review, just to wrap things up, so we could do that next week, I suppose. Anything else to add to this update / any comments or questions? Over to you, Ben.
I think my only addition is encouragement also to for everyone to think specifically about who to invite to specific things, like a personal email to somebody who, hey, by the way, the sociocracy thing is happening. And even a knock on like, hey, the people in your group might be interested in this. So yeah, just a reminder to don't be shy. So any other, I guess I'm passing on to April. Anything to add?
No, except to say again that I like how outreach links in with other guilds and follows up stuff in a way that makes sense for the world of social media, and that it helps to illuminate the connections too. So nice work. On to Ronnie.
Maybe
Yes.
over to Roland.
Thank you. Over to Roland.
No comments.
All right, cool. So that takes us through our guild reports, and we are at an hour, but I just want to double check. So I think we're on track basically with getting people out to the sociocracy and the orientation. Everything else I think is more or less in process. Is there anything that we need to cover? Is there anything, or are there any loose ends around moving forward with the fall semester that is on anybody's mind? Feels like we've got things underhand.
I just have a question about the sociocracy session. Is that going to use the slide deck from before?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, same slide deck, same content.
I just want to touch base about orientation with you, Ben, and anyone else who is planning to be part of facilitating orientation, including like how does the project development plan fit in? What's the follow-up? Like kind of what is the order of operations?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, that's and I sent around notes on the orientation, and they really were, I just did a brain dump. So now I've been putting together a slide deck that can match the outline. So any comments or additions on that? And uh I guess who would be, so Ronnie, you and I can, is anybody else interested in uh helping with the orientation? And if so, we can just set a time when we can talk through it. All right, no one's jumping. So Ronnie, you and I will just give me some times between now and Friday. And actually you can just look at my calendar and pick a time that makes sense. Cool. Awesome. Okay, so I think we're on track there. So if is it okay for us to take a few minutes to talk about the Curiosity Club / outreach?
I need to go in about 5 minutes.
Okay. All right. Um, let's see what we can do. At the very least, I think what I can do is show everyone what is in the document,
Okay.
and then we can talk about how to move forward. It is, I think it's not going to be surprising to anyone because I think these are all ideas that we've been talking about for quite a while. And so as I said, a lot of this came together because of these other groups that are already talking about how to reach out to people that we would call lifeboat builders. And really it's about trying to figure out, like Roland is saying, it's the switchboard plus using AMAC Reflect as a way of checking in with people. And likewise, I think we can be using it as part of our outreach, reaching out to the people who we might engage in that. So at the high level, what I'm thinking is the first step is finding research partners, people who would be interested, who are already talking about or would be interested in reaching out to lifeboat builders, looking at co-sponsoring groups. I'm pretty sure Foodlands and CJ are already on board. That's not going to be a problem. And I suspect that Cassandra Fletcher is also on board. And maybe just thinking about who else we could add to that list. And basically what I think we could be offering that makes that interesting is two things. One is a larger group of people to collaborate with, other people you can bounce ideas off of, and we can take on some of the infrastructure, putting together a spreadsheet where the data can go, and coaching. Because, between April and I, like, this is what we do. So, we can offer a lot of support that way. And then, like I said, the guild meetings would really be this kind of opportunity. It's kind of the switchboard meeting where people could come together, here are the people I reached out to recently, here's what I'm hearing. This group has this interesting problem. What would you do? Can be kind of a sounding board and debriefing. And then what we kind of put together, I put together a lifeboat definition, just because some of these groups are going to be, Foodlands is really focused on food land, right? So they're focused on community farms. Other groups are going to be, interested in ecological restoration, social justice, just being really clear that what we're doing an umbrella that covers all of those. It's basically any element of the compass, So you don't have to do all of the compass. You could be working on any one of the areas of the compass, and that's still relevant. And that we're looking to connect existing projects, new ones, yes, people who want to start a lifeboat, but also connecting with all of the existing ones. And like I said, what we can offer then is a larger network that can help connect people with resources. And those resources could be material. I'm also thinking about all of the people we know who are, I'm starting to talk about them as specialists. People who offer coaching, personal healing, organizational development, marketing, all sorts of things that people might be interested in. And I think really the next step, I guess really what I would love to get agreement on is that it's okay to start reaching out to that inner circle of people who we would want to include. Because the first step is going to be an invitation, pitching the idea, and probably setting up a one-on-one conversation just with people to say, are you interested enough to at least have a conversation about what this might look like? And I did a short list here. And like I said in the document, some of these may be active participants, and some of them might just be willing to give us access to their network. And that's actually one of the questions is,
Yeah.
how would you like to be involved? And yeah, so I think, once that's really the next step is it safe to start reaching out to those people and to go from there. So just in the interest of time, I think that's enough. One quicker round, any questions, anything that you want more information on? And then and at the same time, does it feel good enough for now, safe enough to try to start to draft some invitations to the people on that list? And is there anyone to add to that list? This list here. So April, over to you.
Yes, and I'll need to have a deeper read so I can figure out who else to add to the list, but I think go ahead. I think it's poised to go ahead. Over to Ronnie.
Yeah, I think this sounds great. And I'm having kind of a reflect moment of most of the groups I'm connected to here are activist groups who really do not have their shit together. And so I'm now thinking to myself, oh, I actually want to start looking like who's doing resilient stuff here, like who's doing regenerative stuff. I know a couple like community garden projects and farms and things, but I want to actually do my own brainstorming about who else I could be connecting with, which is just good for me to do anyway for my own lifeboat building. So I might need a bit more time before I can make invitations that feel relevant, but it's something that I added to my list. So over to Roland.
I think what's interesting to me with this list is that there are several people who, on the people in organizations that are already like-minded and who could, and I think it was part of the wording that you used that there's something in there for them also. And I think that this is a shift from other initiatives that we've tried or that we've started, where it's more sort of like just open and waiting for people to come. This is, actually organizations and people who are working on similar things or associated things. And yeah, I think that is another indication of a movement forward. So it's really exciting. Over to you, Ben.
Cool. And I just want to be really clear, Ronnie, we want to connect with the groups that don't have their shit together. No, I think we do. And in part because what we have to offer is help in getting your shit together. And I think this is also where the research aspect of it is, and this is one of those questions about how much to lean into the research part, but I think that a lot of groups are resistant when we make an invitation, like come join the network. I think there's resistance because that's more work. We don't know, we don't have our shit together. And I think that really what we want to do is talk to people and ask some of those they're honest questions, but they're honest questions that encourage a little reflection. Like one of the questions I have in there is, do you have a business plan? Do you have a plan of any kind? And, I think a lot of times the answer is going to be no. And then isn't that interesting? Basically, like really from a research perspective, how many community farms have a sustainable business plan? And if they don't, how do they think they're going to sustain themselves? So anyhow, I think that there's going to be, from the research side of it, we may have some interesting ahas by asking some basic questions of groups. Anyhow, so this is cool. So I think what I'm going to do then is I will draft a sort of template email invitation and send it through past you all for feedback on tone and content and stuff. And then if that sounds good, you are invited to use it to invite people from your own network, or ideas that pop up, and we'll just keep everybody in the loop. So, all right, that feels really exciting. So we've gotten, I think, everything off of our agenda, and I'm just gonna look to make sure, but yeah. So just a quick checkout, I guess. Well, what's a word to describe how you're feeling right now? Over to you, April.
Well, it just occurred to me that we are the shit in the get your shit together. So we are good shit, I guess. What I would say, we are deep manure and we are well composted and we turn ourselves over all the time. And just to say that, just to ride on a comment of Roland's, saying this is another level of what we've done before for initiatives. This is the next step on the engagement trajectory. This is the next, it's a transformation to that level. So you're absolutely right. And over to Ronnie.
I'm hungry. Over to Roland.
Over to Ben.
Live long and prosper.
It's a sign language.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am pleased. I'm very pleased. So onward and upward, and hopefully we'll see some of you at Sociocracy tomorrow, and invite your friends, and yeah, off we go. Bye.
Bye.